Professor Velthar had spent 3 decades studying xenobiology across 47 different species. His laboratory at the Galactic Academy of Biological Sciences was a marvel of sterile precision, filled with molecular analyzers, gene sequencers, and spectral scanners worth more than most planetary defense budgets. He had dissected the biology of the methane-breathing Corthax, mapped the triple helix DNA of the crystalline Zephrons, and even survived cataloging the diet of the carnivorous Drellites. Nothing in the known galaxy could surprise him anymore. That was before humanity joined the Galactic Council. The humans had arrived with their odd bipedal gait, their unsettling forward-facing predator eyes, and their bizarre insistence on touching everything with their bare appendages. The Council had been cautious, as they always were with Death World species, but the humans had proven surprisingly reasonable. They negotiated trade agreements, shared technological innovations, and seemed genuinely excited to learn about other cultures. Professor Velthar had been assigned to compile a comprehensive dietary analysis of humanity. It was standard procedure for any new species. Understanding their nutritional needs helped prevent diplomatic incidents at state dinners and ensured proper provisions could be made on mixed-species vessels and stations. He had started with the official human submission, a database containing thousands of entries marked as safe for human consumption. Velthar had run the first 100 samples through his equipment with growing disbelief. Capsaicin, a chemical weapon that most species used as a neural agent, was listed as a flavoring. Ethanol, a solvent that dissolved organic tissue, was categorized under recreational beverages. Caffeine, a pesticide evolved by plants to kill insects, was something humans consumed multiple times daily for alertness. The professor had triple-checked his equipment, then he checked it again. The results remained the same. Humans, it appeared, had turned an evolutionary arms race into a buffet. His paper on the subject, titled Humanity's Paradoxical Consumption Patterns, a study in controlled toxin ingestion, had caused quite a stir in academic circles. Several prominent biologists had accused him of falsifying data. Others suggested the human samples had been contaminated. But Velthar's reputation was impeccable, and after independent verification, the galaxy had been forced to accept an uncomfortable truth: humans were insane. Still, Velthar prided himself on scientific thoroughness. He had spent the last 6 months analyzing every food item in the human database, cross-referencing with their biological tolerances, and creating detailed reports. Today would be his final verification session before publishing his complete findings. The human representative, one Dr. Marcus Chen, had been remarkably cooperative throughout the process. The young xenoanthropologist had answered countless questions, provided samples, and even laughed good-naturedly when Velthar had expressed his horror at human dietary choices. "Professor," Marcus called out cheerfully as he entered the laboratory, carrying what appeared to be an insulated container. "Hope I'm not late. Traffic from the human quarters was brutal. Apparently there was some kind of celebration, and the transport tubes were packed." Velthar's 4 eye stalks swiveled to focus on his guest. "You are precisely on time, Dr. Chen. I appreciate your punctuality." He gestured with one of his 6 tentacles toward the examination table. "I have reviewed your submitted database extensively. Today, I simply need to verify a few final samples before publication." "Sure thing." Marcus set his container down on a side table. "I actually brought my lunch if that's okay. Figured I'd eat after we're done." "That is acceptable." Velthar activated his primary scanner, a device capable of breaking down matter to its molecular components. "Shall we begin with item 734, hot wings?" Marcus's face split into that unsettling human expression called a smile. "Oh man, hot wings. Yeah, those are great. Buffalo sauce, blue cheese dressing, celery sticks, classic Earth bar food." Velthar's tentacles quivered with barely suppressed horror. He had analyzed this entry 3 times already. The buffalo sauce contained capsaicin levels that would hospitalize most species, combined with acetic acid and sodium concentrations that should have been lethal. The blue cheese dressing was made from deliberately spoiled bovine lactation, colonized by fungal organisms. The entire dish was then cooked at temperatures that would denature most alien proteins. Fascinating, Velthar managed, and humans consume this voluntarily. All the time, it's party food. Marcus leaned against the examination table. Though I'll admit, the really hot ones can be challenging even for us. There's a place in my hometown that makes them so spicy you have to sign a waiver. A waiver? Yeah, like a legal document saying you won't sue them if you hurt yourself eating their food. Velthar made a note on his datapad with trembling appendages. Humans had weaponized their own cuisine to the point of requiring legal protection for the establishment serving it. They continued through the list. Each item was more alarming than the last. Coffee, concentrated caffeine extract. Chocolate containing theobromine, deadly to most species. Fermented fish sauce, deliberately rotted protein. Cheese, aged bovine secretion. Alcohol, literally a poison. Pufferfish containing tetrodotoxin, which could kill a drellite in seconds, yet humans considered it a delicacy. Dr. Chen, Velthar said finally, his voice tight with academic frustration, I must ask, are humans aware that they are essentially consuming a catalog of toxins, irritants, and biohazards? Marcus laughed, that strange barking sound humans made when amused. We know things are spicy or strong if that's what you mean, but hey, we've got pretty robust digestive systems. High stomach acidity, diverse gut bacteria, good liver function. We can handle a lot. Handle a lot is perhaps the most dramatic understatement I have encountered in my career. Velthar saved his data and began shutting down the scanner. Very well. I believe I have sufficient information to. Oh, Marcus suddenly perked up. Since we're done, mind if I eat my lunch here? I'm starving and I'd love to chat more about your findings. I suppose that would be, Velthar paused. What did you bring? Just some leftovers from last night. Marcus opened his container, and immediately the laboratory filled with an aroma that made Velthar's chemoreceptors flare in alarm. Carolina Reaper chili with ghost peppers, habaneros, and jalapenos. I made a huge batch for the cultural exchange celebration. Oh, and I added some of that Sichuan peppercorn oil for the numbing effect, plus extra garlic, onions, and a splash of vinegar. Topped it with sour cream, sharp cheddar, and some pickled jalapenos. Velthar's 3 hearts skipped several beats collectively. Dr. Chen, he said slowly, I must insist you do not open that container further. My atmospheric sensors are already registering. But Marcus had already lifted the lid fully. The concentrated capsaicin fumes hit the laboratory's air filtration system like a chemical attack. Alarms began shrieking. The molecular scanner, still in its cool-down cycle, suddenly spiked in temperature as the sensors detected what they interpreted as a Class 7 chemical weapon. Then the scanner began to smoke. Oh no, Marcus said, looking genuinely apologetic as he quickly sealed his container. Oh man, I'm so sorry, Professor, I didn't think. The scanner sparked, hissed, and then its display screen literally melted, liquefying down the front of the machine in rivulets of plastic and silicon. Velthar stared at his ruined equipment that had survived analysis of drellite venom, Corthax corrosive secretions, and radioactive Zephron minerals. Equipment that had cost approximately 17 years of his salary. Equipment that had just been destroyed by human leftovers. Velthar couldn't form words in any of the 4 languages he spoke fluently. I'll pay for the repairs, Marcus said quickly, sealing his container more tightly. Emergency drones had arrived and were frantically ventilating the laboratory. Or replacement, whatever you need. I should have known better. They did warn me that this batch was probably overkill even by human standards. Overkill, Velthar repeated faintly. Your lunch contained enough chemical irritants to destroy military-grade analytical equipment. Yeah, Marcus had the decency to look embarrassed. In my defense, I was trying to impress this girl from Beijing who said Americans don't know real spicy food, so I may have gone a bit overboard with the peppers. Velthar slowly began to laugh, a wheezing, clicking sound that his species made when confronted with something so absurd that all other responses failed. Dr. Chen, I have studied 47 species over 3 decades. I have cataloged organisms that breathe methane, that swim in liquid metal, that reproduce by nuclear fission. But humanity, he gestured at the melted scanner with one tentacle. Humanity will consume substances that destroy laboratory equipment, and do so in pursuit of impressing potential mates. When you put it that way, it does sound a bit crazy, Marcus admitted. A bit. Velthar pulled up his research files on his datapad. I am rewriting my entire conclusion. The title will now be Humanity's Paradoxical Consumption Patterns, How Death World Apex Predators Weaponized the Food Chain and Called It Cuisine. Marcus grinned. That'll make a great headline, though you might want to mention that most of us don't eat quite this intensely. This is more of a hobby-level thing. Hobby, Velthar muttered, making notes. Humans practice consuming chemical weapons as a hobby. Of course they do. As the emergency drones finished cleaning the air and maintenance bots began assessing the damage to the scanner, Velthar realized something profound. His paper wasn't going to just make waves in academic circles. It was going to fundamentally change how the galaxy viewed humanity. These weren't just another death world species that had climbed to sentience through violence and survival. These were beings who had looked at their planet's evolutionary arms race and decided that everything trying to kill them probably tasted good with the right seasoning. Dr. Chen, Velthar said thoughtfully, would you be willing to present at the Galactic Biology Conference next month? I believe the Council needs to understand exactly what they've invited into the galactic community. Sure, Marcus brightened. Should I bring samples? Absolutely not. Fair enough. As Marcus left with his container of weaponized chili, Velthar looked at his melted scanner and began composing his presentation. The galaxy had seen many wonders, species that could survive in the void of space, civilizations that had mastered quantum mechanics, beings of pure energy. But humanity had looked at poison and said, pass the salt. And somehow, terrifyingly, that might make them the most formidable species the galaxy had ever encountered, not because of their weapons or their warships, but because they'd already won their home planet's war by eating it. The professor made a final note on his datapad. Recommendation: do not invite humans to diplomatic dinners. They will bring hot sauce.